Hello and welcome to the fourth part of this series of videos where I'll be comparing my gaming PC to the performance and quality modes of the Xbox Series X. Today we're taking a look at Resident Evil 2 and the only way you can play it on Xbox Series X, which is the way you could play it on Xbox One X previously. It runs at 1620p interlaced mode, it targets 60 FPS, and we are using the Xbox One X and Series X graphics settings. So it's not the highest the PC can go. It's these are the graphics settings that those two consoles use. So here we are at 1620p. Had to put my native resolution to 1800 and turn the resolution scaler, the in-game resolution scaler down to 90%, so we can get 90% of 1800, which is 1620p. In this video, we will also be taking a look at Resident Evil 3, which has some improvements over this game, more on the visual side, not so much of the gameplay side, at least for me. And we'll also be taking a look at the two modes you can play on Xbox Series X after it has been patched. You can play either an unpatched version if you have a physical copy of the game, which is running at 4K 2160p, but not native. It's a reconstruction sort of thing. Since I don't have a way to reconstruct games on PC, or at least this game doesn't have a dynamic resolution scaling option. Um, I'll still be running the game interlaced, but targeting 2160p. Uh, Actually, the game does have Resident Evil 3 does have a fidelity effects mode, which renders the game at low graphical use, but it targets higher quality image. I really don't know how it works. I'm sure it's some sort of reconstruction technique. I'm not sure if it's similar to the Xbox One or not, but we'll still be taking a look at at that in this video. So Resident Evil 3 runs at 1620p with the patched version, or the reconstructed technique to target 2160p. But here Resident Evil 2 only targets 1620, and it runs at 60 FPS good here with no sweat for the RX 5700 XT. I'm sure it's no sweat for the Xbox Series X as well, but after this gameplay we'll be taking a look at how you can run at 60 FPS on the RX 5700 XT with all settings maxed out, unlike the Xbox Series X settings, and we'll be running the game at native 1800p, which is 85% of 2160p 4K. So now we are playing with the game at 1800p. This is how I played the game. Native 1800p with all settings turned up except for volumetric lighting, as this game has lots of areas which interact with volumetric lighting in a way that really sends the performance down. So we are about to enter a very taxating area because of its and because the way it interacts with volumetric lighting. This is one of the most demanding areas. And as you can see, the game's still running at 60 FPS with better settings than the Xbox Series X and at a higher resolution than 1620p. This is 1800p. If it were not for these areas right here, where there is a lot of volumetric lighting going on, the high setting would more than sufficiently do, but with these areas, the high setting simply just sends the frame rate down.
Son of a bitch. What the? Son of a bitch. You bastard.
So here we are in Resident Evil 3. This game came out 1 year later after Resident Evil 2. It's sort of a patch, in my opinion, but also it's an improvement in graphical terms and somewhat gameplay terms, if you could say it so. Um, Xbox Series X settings. When you update the game, will turn the game to 1620p with these graphics settings. But when the game was released for Xbox One X console, the game targeted 2160p 4K with a reconstructive technique. This game has this option of Fidelity FX cast plus upscaling. I guess this is some sort of reconstruction technique as well. We will be using it here on this mode. See if you can get the same performance as the Xbox Series X. And of course we can. For the Xbox One X, obviously it was more difficult because of the graphical power in the Xbox One X. Although being the most powerful console of its generation, it did add some the equivalent of that console was more like of a RX 580 or an RX 480. So it really wasn't built to handle 4K. So that's why the frame rate was always below 50, sometimes going all the way down to 30 FPS during gameplay. That's why Capcom fixed it and released a patch that turned the resolution of the game down to 1620p like it was in Resident Evil 2. Not sure why they would target a higher resolution. It worked fine in Resident Evil 2, and this game is more graphically demanding, so it makes no sense to me. But here, as you can see in the 5700 XT with Xbox settings, we can get perfect 60 FPS at 4K. And finally, here we are, and with the settings, I've played my walkthrough of the game when I first bought it. So we're playing at 1512p, sorry, 70% of 4K, 1512p, with all settings maxed out. We will be leaving the Fidelity FX cast plus upscaling thing on. So we can get a more stable frame rate. I do believe this option has an influence in it. So yeah, graphics are better than the Xbox, although I wouldn't say the crispness of the image is better. I'm sure visual effects will be better than the Xbox because we have max settings. But I do not think crispness is any better. I'm upscaling it to a 4K TV, like you would with an Xbox. Although maybe as the Xbox targets the 1620p, which is a bit higher than this resolution, even with lower graphics settings, there's more crispness to the image. I don't know. This is the first game I'm seeing it where I'm really not happy with where I can't get max settings with better resolution than the Xbox, so I have to lower the resolution in order to have max settings. But I'm sure that's what would happen with the Xbox Series X if they would ever have better graphics settings, they sure as hell couldn't play at 1612p
Come on, there's a helicopter
or
waiting
even
to take you to safety.
1800p or even 2160p. So
I'm not going out there.
The parking garage isn't
it's a little
far.
sacrifice, but these days resolution isn't everything. So it's the techniques you use to get to the picture quality you do. So yeah, guys, enjoy the rest of the gameplay, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.
Shit! Come on. Sorry. Come on. Start, damn it. It's my turn, bitch. Ugh.